Hey, Bobby Manning here for the Garden Report, CLNS Media, and Celtics All Access from TD Garden, where the Celtics are 0-3 with a blowout loss to the Raptors on opening night in the past and an effortless loss against the Wizards, as it was described, where Montrezl Harrell took it to them. The Celtics now squander a massive lead at home, and fans again booing and swarming for the exits midway through this fourth quarter, as the Bulls went from down by 19 in their late portion of the third quarter to, with minutes remaining in this game, building a 12-point lead, or it looked like a 12-point lead on DeMar DeRozan's three, before it got called back to 9, and ultimately this one settles at 128-114. Celtics effectively blown out in a game where they were blowing out the Bulls through the middle portion. Jaylen Brown built them up with a strong start and an explosive second quarter after Jayson Tatum subbed out, went for the bike. Brown got 5 shots in short order, 2 inside, 3 threes, and blew a lead open for the Celtics that they were able to build on into the third quarter with some nice runs from Tatum, Dennis Schroeder taking the Celtics out in transition and finding shots for the two of them, and Marcus Smart finding his three-point stroke early on with 3 threes on 4 attempts. As part of a 4-9 start for Marcus Smart here, with 3 steals in the first half, ends up with 4. A nice diving play up across half court that set up Brown's third 3 in that 5-shot sequence there in just 4 minutes or so. Looked like the Celtics were playing some of their best basketball of the year, but the defensive issues were constantly underneath the surface. And then once the Celtics offense went cold to open up the fourth, started settling for jumpers, relaxing, as Ime Udoka termed it post-game. This one went to a bad place. Bulls scoring over 50 points, 51 points exactly from that point where the Celtics had the 19-point lead on. Celtics, I believe, just about 12 from that point on. And this ended up being a devastating loss for this team. Still at a loss for words about where they can find themselves after a 2-4 start here. It now becomes 2-5. 3 tough losses in a row going back to that Washington series, and the mood around this team is just eerie. Marcus Smart took the podium post-game. Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum did not. Mark Murphy said that they declined to. And Smart's comments were startling about the offense down the stretch of the game here. Starts out by saying, there's not much I can do because I'm standing in the corner. Describes the things that he can do, whether it's posting up or getting in the lane and finding guys. He says, I know how to find guys when they're in their comfort zones. I know how to find guys where they want it. And then starts to dig into Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum a little bit. I'm going to cue up the full sound here so you can hear it in its entirety.
How do you feel like you need to help guide that?
Only so much I can do without the ball in my hands. I just sit and stand in the corner. We run in plays for our best players. Every team knows that. They do a good job of shutting that down. And, we can't allow that. When they shut that down, we can't keep trying to go to those guys. We got to, abort that and, find another way to get them the ball in the spots that they need the ball. And like I said, for me, I can only do so much with just standing in the corner or when I come up and give the ball away. So, I do everything I can on the other end to try to combat that. I try to talk. I try to, make the plays, get those guys the ball where they need it, where they want it.
So Marcus Smart there, calling on Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown to improve as playmakers, creators for others. Something people writing about this team and covering this team have been talking about for the better part of 2 seasons now, as the Celtics, over the last 100 or so games, have become a team that's pretty sharply under 500 at this point. True sentiments coming from Smart. It's hard to disagree with much of what he's saying. The team's game plan for the Celtics to go to those 2 in crunch time. I wrote about it this morning for CLNS Media, that Jayson Tatum had full reign over the ball in that loss at Washington and wasn't able to take advantage, and worse yet, made questionable decisions down the stretch of that game, throwing it out of bounds, trying to find Brown in traffic to his right on the last possession down 3 in double overtime, taking jump shots, settling for jump shots, instead of getting downhill. The Celtics ranked 29th in basketball at getting to the basket, at least coming into tonight. And that is a credit to the people who have the ball most. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart is in that group. He owes some culpability in this too, and that's where you do start to look at him after these comments and say, what's your level of accountability? Because we haven't heard a ton of accountability from Smart this year. Even Ime Udoka critique Smart that sharply as he has the Jays. Now, you look at your tone setters on this team first, but Smart's been pulled in with the pillars on this team, and he deserves criticism too for their shot profile, their overall shooting efficiency, and the shots that they're finding within the flow of the offense tonight. 0 assists for Smart in this game. Now, he didn't have the ball as much as the Jays, but, we get on Brown for standing in the corner and not going and getting the ball. Could Smart do the same in those spots? Is he talking to Udoka when he makes those comments? That's something we'll have to ask and learn about in the next few days as the Celtics go on to Florida. But no response from Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum tonight after Smart calls them out constructively in some way, says they're still learning. That's an area they still have to get better at. On paper, the comments look a lot more jarring than they maybe were when you hear them. Go check out the full video on the CLNS Media main page. But nonetheless, still a pointed criticism of this team's 2 stars and the tone that they're setting late in games as the Celtics continue to do good things, as Al Horford said post-game tonight, move in the right direction. Horford, to his credit, 4th double-double in 5 games tonight, doing everything he needs to do with a 20-10 performance and logging heavy minutes, giving the Celtics everything they need. He took about as much as accountability as anyone tonight, saying he didn't get to the rim when Zach LaVine, others were torching the Celtics down the stretch of the game there. This one really turned to begin the 4th quarter when Schroeder was getting swallowed up in the lane by Alex Caruso, who was incredible, brought the energy, really changed the feeling around this game when he started to play in the beginning portion of that 4th quarter. The whole bench brought incredible playmaking, including Ayo DeSumo, who hit many of those threes and shots that got the Bulls back in this game from down big to lead a big blowout win for the now 5-1 Chicago Bulls. The East is grueling. Celtics going to see some tough teams coming up. The schedule doesn't get any lighter. Lots of road games back-to-back between Orlando and Miami, who's also at the top of the conference to start this year. And doesn't seem to be a firm answer among anybody within this group. Ime, the players, anybody really, about how they fix the things that are going wrong right now. They like the execution. They like the progress. But overall, a stubbornness to what truly needs to change fundamentally about this team to start making losses, tearing the wins, because it's not close right now. They're not just missing the bar. They are fundamentally failing to execute late in these games, something that needs to be done to turn these losses into wins, because the way they are losing right now is startling, and the way the schedule is lined up in November and the way the East looks early on this year, they could really lose themselves in this first full month of November, if the Celtics don't get back on track. So we'll have coverage from the Celtics postgame show, Garden Report, Dome Theory, Causeway Street, A-List Podcast, all the podcasts you love over on CLNS Media. Celtics All Access for my reporting of the Celtics this season at Celtics CLNS on Twitter. And of course, follow along with me at Real Bob Manning on Twitter the whole way. Celtics lose this one 128-114 from TD Garden. Have a good night.